All right. Good morning, everyone. Once again, on Art Conversation, we have somebody very exciting straight from Scotland. We have Diane with us. Welcome, Diane.
Hi.
Well, we know each other for a very long time, since 2005, 6.
Yeah,
Yeah.
five. Yeah, five, six.
And
Yeah.
yeah, and I'm very excited to introduce you to Diane because she works as a, of course, she's a theater artist. She runs her own theater organization. But apart from that, what excites me more is she works as a clown doctor, which is something very, very new when it comes to India. And she works with organization in Scotland called Hearts and Minds. That's a charity organization, and she works as a clown doctor over there. So, of course, we'll be talking about what clown doctoring is, what exactly happens, what you do, and what happens with the people you work with. But we'll start with the kind of work that you do. You know, you run your own organization. So, what exactly you do as a theater artist?
So the organization that I run is called Tenterhooks. We're a small theatre company. We describe ourselves as an emerging company run by fully emerged theatre artists
Okay.
that have been working freelance for a long time independently. We've been running for a few years now, and Tenterhooks is formed of myself and two other practitioners, another theatre clown called Susie Ferguson, and a visual artist called Fergus Dunnett. And we work together to make interactive theatre that is typically not in traditional theatre spaces.
Right.
It's really informed by theatre clowning because 2/3 of us are theatre clowns. So that means that I would say the audience is really at the heart of the pieces that we make all the time. And we're at a really exciting stage as a company. We're small. We're we get little project funds and we go from production to production. We're learning how to talk about our work, so this is a great opportunity to talk about it. Actually, just before we went into lockdown, we were about 3/4 of the way through a tour of our latest show, which is called Mess. And it is a piece of theatre that happens in school classrooms in special education schools. So it's for young audiences who have very complex, we would say, additional support needs. So children with profound and multiple learning disabilities. And it's a piece of non-verbal theatre that has a cast of 4 performers. There's a lot of harmony singing in it and a lot of what we describe as intensive interactions. So communicating with the young people in ways that the young people would offer to us. So particular vocalizations or movements that the young people use to express themselves, we would work with that and integrate that into the show. It's very funny. It's got a good emotional journey on it. There's a bit of mild peril in there, and then there's also a lot of stillness and waiting, where the performers wait without any stress for the audience, but just to be able to kind of change the atmosphere in the room so that the audience can feel that any response or reaction that they may have is expected and celebrated as part of the show. So that was what we were getting towards the end of our tour for before this all happened. But we'll continue that tour when we can get back out again.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. That's quite exciting to understand what you do as a theater artist. All right, that's wonderful to know. But we are more interested because I know the kind of work that you do. So we are more interested to understand what exactly you work as a clown doctor. Uh, I know you go to different hospitals and perform certain things over there, but we would like to understand what exactly clown doctor means.
Great. Okay. This is my pleasure to describe. um, so, clown doctoring. I've been a clown doctor for 14 years. So, I was just training when we
Right.
first met, actually, Kaustup. Clown doctoring is it's therapeutic performance we would describe clown doctors as being therapeutic clowns.
Okay.
It's a professional performance practice that has been running, certainly in Scotland, for 21 years. Hearts and Minds that I work for are the only organisation in Scotland that do this.
Okay.
So, and we're actually 21 this year. So clown doctors, in our context, there are many organisations around the world doing clown doctoring. Actually, it's an art form that's really spread from America. The first clown doctors in the kind of the same style as ourselves. So I'll describe specifically in Scotland, and then I would suggest you research other countries that do it as well. In Scotland, it is theatre clowning, so we are not circus clowns or children's entertainers in that way. So any ideas that people have of makeup or funny wigs or big shoes, that it's not that.
Yeah.
We wear red noses. We're professional actors, and we are trained to work in healthcare. So we always work in pairs. We have clown doctor alter egos. So in children's hospitals, my character is called Dr. Wallop. We are dressed, Dr. Wallop, yeah. We're dressed, we're costumed, and the costumes suggest that it's an important job, you know, and the clown doctor's imagination. We're in charge of the hospital, and we visit children to go to look at to see how they're doing in the hospital and to be of service. Yeah. So we look smart. We have our doctor's coats, but they're yellow. We have our ID badges. You know, I have a pretty dress that looks smart, and we have a red nose and a hat, and we visit children in pairs. There's always 2 clown doctors. Before we go onto the ward, we're given referrals by healthcare staff. Usually it's by play staff. In the hospitals in Scotland, we would have a play service, who are professional people that use therapeutic play with children. So they know we are deployed by them, if you like. They would refer us to particular children in need. Doctors and nurses and other healthcare professionals may also. We work with children from 6 months to as old as they come. So in our country, in the children's hospitals, typically that's 18, but give or take. We work with children for various reasons. So we might get referred to a child because they are very scared. They are very bored. They've been in isolation for a long time. I'm sure many of them are in their cubicles laughing at the people trying to work out how to be in isolation. Some of our children are specialists at this, unfortunately. It might be that the staff want the child to have opportunities for creative play, for families to be able to see their children being themselves as much as is possible. It can be a way to give the children the experience to subvert the environment, to take ownership of the hospital environment in a playful way. Occasionally, we might also assist with diversion, so diverting children's attention from a procedure that they're going through that might be stressful or painful. We do that more occasionally in Scotland than in some of the other countries you might find, simply because we've got play specialists in Scotland too. That's a huge part of their work. So typically they would do that, but we can certainly be on hand to also deliver that sort of work if necessary. And we work with children, anyone within that age range. So that would be, it can be children who are, as I say, in isolation. So we wouldn't be able to go into the room that they're in. We'd work through the window of their cubicle. Obviously, any language, we don't need words, so we can work with children with whom we wouldn't speak the same language. Children with wide range of additional support needs and disabilities. Children who are in intensive care and who are experiencing physical trauma or are going through emotional trauma as well. We have a training to work with all these children, neurodiverse children, of course, kids who are on the autistic spectrum. So basically, I'm trying to say we're ready for everyone and anyone, which takes a lot of work on our part to be ready for that. What how we perform is improvised in the moment with the young people, and the purpose is to engage the children and to empower them. So the reason that we are clowns is that the character of a clown is stupid. This is important. We're an adult in the hospital who is stupid, professionally so. That we are of lower status to anyone in the hospital, even though we think we run it, but this is the conflict of being an idiot. And the vulnerability and the spontaneity of clowning. So we are ready to do anything that the child needs or wants. And the brilliant challenge for me in doing this job is that we're creating theatre, so we have to be doing this theatrically very well. So we have to be physically in shape to be able to do slapstick or to dance or to do the unexpected. We use puppetry, we might use object manipulation to work with the plastic aprons in the hospital or the cleaning signs that we find to animate them in playful ways. Music as well is a big part of what we do. So we have to be ready to sing and improvise songs for the musicians amongst us, of which I'm afraid I'm not one, are fantastically skilled at improvising music. And within any given day, let's say typically in the large hospital in Glasgow that I work in, we would see about 30 young people in a day, 10 minutes each. So we're working individually with those children. Dr. Wallop and whichever partner that they're working with in that day will be going through everything from failing to get through a door for this to be a large sort of slapstick visit, from turning the window of a cubicle into an aquarium by animating signs and gloves into strange creatures that the children can see, always some sort of huge kung fu battle, through a window with a child who discovers that if they go like that at a window, it has some big reaction to us.
Right.
The weather can be very changeable. So we might be walking down a corridor and suddenly there's a big, windstorm that suddenly doesn't affect the children, but it only affects us. So there can be a lot. It's an emotional roller coaster being a clown doctor. They go through a lot. They'll probably fall in love. They'll probably fall out of love. There's all sorts of things that happen to them in one day that we have to be ready for, because as I say, what's absolutely fundamental to the work is that we don't prepare what we're going to do. We improvise it because we have to learn how to very quickly read the feeling in a room, how the child feels in that day, what we think would be most appropriate for them.
Right.
So we'll get referrals, as I say, and we'll get some information about the child beforehand, but obviously how they respond when we show up is unpredictable. So we have to find what it is about them that we can engage. And I mean, usually, they're sensing lots and lots of laughter, but I think it's quite important to say that funny and laughter isn't necessarily the outcome each time. Like, more often than not it is, but we're not looking to make necessarily just to make somebody laugh. It's more than that. It's about it's a feeling of connection that these characters can bring out, which, as I say, often results in laughter, but can also be beauty, loveliness, power. Kids having the power over us. We never assume that we'll be able to visit somebody, even if we're referred to them. If we show up and the child says no, they don't want us, then we don't go in. Okay. Yeah, I wonder what else to explain about it. It's a vast area.
I know, and I can just I can imagine when you were telling. I can imagine what exactly happening inside the room inside the hospital. You have explained a lot of benefits that children can have when you appear there as a clown doctors. But since you work as a children with medical conditions, I have a quick question to ask. Does it also help to improve their medical condition?
Mm. So I think there are various studies around the world that are investigating this. I don't know of any in Scotland. That wouldn't be something that I would ever say or comment on. I think being able to quantify that is an area of research that is so far outside my skill set that it's somewhere else completely.
Okay.
I think what we can say is that certainly anecdotally, I have heard that it improves the mood of young people when we're visiting them. I know our company have done some research sort of surveying various families that we've worked with, or surveying our the healthcare professionals that we work with, to find out if children remain less stressed or worried after a visit. Certainly for children that we term frequent flyers, so children who have health conditions that mean that they frequently attend the hospital and get to know us very well. I've certainly heard on many occasions we'll have feedback of families saying, they can't wait to see you. They know that you're going to be on the wards today, or you make a hospital feel like a more fun place to go to. And actually, there was a message on Facebook today from a family whose daughter, she finished her treatment a year ago, but she still misses the clown doctors. I think I can only go on instinct and say there's got to be something positive and a positive experience for people who feel that about clown doctors in the hospital.
Okay.
Of course. But I can't therefore say that like in terms of medically, then that's an area of research, I think, which I.
Okay, that's okay. That's absolutely fine. But how much as an actor, it is very different to perform on stage in front of the audience, and it is very different to go to the a particular audience and do certain work which is very, very different in nature. And so how much challenging it is at the same time to get attached with your audience and also not to get attached at the same time, because you need to balance these both things at the same time. So how much challenging it is for you as an artist?
So I think the reason that I became a clown doctor or became interested in clowning was because I thought it was the most challenging way to perform.
Mm-hmm.
And certainly before I ever became a clown doctor, I would hear these stories of other actors who had gone and studied clowning, with some of the European sort of theatre clown gurus who are pretty universally terrifying, and they would talk about it being like a really it's the scariest thing. You have to be funny and you can't hide behind a character. You've got to be your vulnerable self, and so that immediately made me want to try it. Not because I thought I'd be any good at it, not at all, but because it sounded really scary and it sounded like something that everyone that's a performer should try.
Mm-hmm.
For me, there's a challenge, but also a huge release. Like, my background as an actor was super traditional, so that was like drama school, where we went and we were actively taught to pretend the audience isn't there, right? So all the fourth wall stuff and the Stanislavski stuff, and being believable, all of that, And then when I trained in clown style of theatre, it was just, for me, it was like, this is what it's all about. Of course the audience is there. That's the point, that's the point of theatre. And it's the kind of theatre I prefer as an audience member. So it's a delicious challenge, I would say. I think working as a clown doctor, so the top secret information was I hadn't actually any experience as a clown before I got the clown doctoring work. Like, I was trained up as a newbie clown performer.
Okay.
I didn't tell my boss that until way later because it's such a skill.
This is going public.
They know now. It's such an art form to try and become specialized in. And I think that, yeah, reading an audience, or learning to give an audience what they want, but give them what they like, do what they want for as long as they want,
Right.
and then do something different, and it's got to be something better than they could have thought of, but you're also still trying to instinctively feed what an audience wants. Like, it's a huge challenge, and when you get it, it feels like flying, when you and your clown doctor partner and the child, and you're in that space of reading your audience really well. It's a really specific relationship, I think, clown doctoring, because absolutely the child's they're the audience, but they're also a participant, but they're not a professional performer, which is what you two are. So you're kind of modulating how you perform with the child. It's with the child, for the child. Sometimes the visits are more performer audience relationship, in that the audience, the kid is watching but still really feeding the actors,
Right.
but not necessarily verbally engaging, and that might be because they're not people who speak, but it might or it might be that they are through a window, so there's different ways to engage. Or it might be that actually what's best for that young person in that moment is not to have the pressure of having to verbally give the clown doctors instructions or questions, but actually to passively watch, and we have to work all of that out in a split second sometimes. So I like that challenge, and I guess the connection side of it as a person, when you're working in the hospital, is obviously sometimes really devastating. It's sometimes we see really sad things, or we get to know people, and people pass away, or things get worse, and obviously that's really upsetting. But we support each other as clown doctors. Our organisation is really great about supporting that, and I'm also really mindful that we are not sharing the experience of the incredible National Health Service staff who are medically treating those people and going through those experiences in an incredibly powerful way as their life day in day out. So yes, we go through really sad things, but always from the point of view of the privilege we've had to work with young people. So that's just that's a side of the job as well.
Okay. I know that's very heavy to receive also, and I can imagine how much difficult it is to perform. But you talked about you learned clown doctoring. So I just want to come to that. Like, what are the opportunities when someone wants to learn clown doctoring, and where?
So in Scotland, the opportunity is if there's a job, a vacancy in the ensemble of performers, then they would audition. Is harder to get an audition now than it was when I started 14 years ago, because it was emerging more, so there was less people in the field. To be honest, now if it was me 14 years ago, now I wouldn't even get an audition, because they look for people with specific experience of performing in clown. In the theatre. There's much more of a culture of theatre clowning, specifically in Scotland now, than there was even 14 years ago. There is more training courses and organisations, theatre companies, that there's actually a pretty vibrant community of theatre clown trained performers in Scotland. So so there's opportunities to train in clown. Specifically in clown doctoring, then in Scotland it's Hearts and Minds, and they don't, to my knowledge, offer workshops or anything like that. I think they have in the past, and I wouldn't say that's out with the realm of possibility to that they might do sort of skills sharing, but yeah. So there's a pretty intensive training if and when you get the job. So the training is about the specifics of clowning and trying to be really good clowns, which is, you know, no mean feat. And then the dynamics of working in improvisation and working in a duo, working with hospitalized people. And obviously we get trained in understanding the experiences and some of the medical experiences that the patients will be going through. And then as the clown doctors, we're really well looked after artistically. So we have a great artistic director, and she will get us together 3 or 4 times a year, I forget, and we have rehearsals, and we have a lot of opportunity to be observed by her. She's also a clown doctor on the floor.
Okay.
So we she has experience of being inside the job as well. There's a lot of peer-to-peer feedback. We have a very sort of intensive, positive way to work with each other. So we reflect back on successes and challenges that we're having on the floor, what works, and there's. I mean, I can't. This kind of idea of actors and performers having huge egos, it's like that's not going to work for you. Like in Clown Doctors, it's not an ego-led theatre situation company at all, which is a delight. So there's the pursuit to be really good at the work. So we have, as I say, rehearsals, and a few times a year we'll get together with they'll bring in a specialist in clown performance or in clown doctoring from a different country, or a particularly brilliant clown theatre director, you know, that we'll talk amongst ourselves, like who would we really like to spend a bit of time with, and we've gone away on sort of residential weekends and things. And yeah, because a lot of it is learning on the job, but again, it's that the balance of, it's a professional job, so we have to arrive on our first day at a quality that we're working with, you know, incredibly special and vulnerable audiences. So we have to be sort of simultaneously really good, and then also always getting better. So yeah.
I guess that's pretty intensive kind of a work that you do. Well, not only in Scotland, but even in Asian countries, Europe, clown doctoring is quite a new area. So you have been working for 14, 15 years now, and 15 years is relatively quite a new area. Of course, when it comes to India, it is very, very new, right? So we are just trying to create more awareness about applied theater, dramaturgy, stage clown doctoring, a lot of things. But what do you think? When it comes to someone wants to get into it, what do you think? What is the future of clown doctoring?
Oh, if someone wants to be a clown doctor in the future, yeah. I'd say it's really useful to train in theatre clown. I mean, I really want to speak with you. Maybe that's not for when I'm being interviewed, but the two of us to have a chat about what that is in your theatre culture, because in my experience, the sort of clowning that we do is a very Western European stage clown style, the aesthetic of it and the heritage of it, and like any art and performance, well, you know, the way that we met was doing international collaboration. I'm really fascinated by how those kind of archetypes have been arrived at in different cultures and in different theatre cultures or geographical cultures around the world. So certainly from my point of view, training and getting a really great quality training in theatre clowning, and seeking out the best quality teaching that you can. And I would say the most supportive quality teaching. There's a big old vibe in Western Europe. I wonder if you have it too, of sort of theatre guru, grumpy clown teachers who, I've just said grumpy, but actually one of the greatest clown teachers I ever had was really grumpy. So it's not the fact that they're grumpy, it's the fact that there's some of the teaching styles in clown, it's a little bit like we're going to beat this actor down and make them feel horrible and vulnerable in a really negative way, and then they'll magic find this kind of vulnerable character. For some performers that works well. I'm getting older. I'm realizing that doesn't work so well for me. So that I find encouraging, skillful, playful, engaged teaching is wonderful for me. So I guess that's like, find the teaching style that works for you and study with that teacher or teachers. And then just having I think clown doctoring is also specifically for people who have an interest in theatre for social change or social engagement. So I'd had experience before working in various places in the world where there had been conflicts, and working sort of post-conflict theatre projects with communities. I was interested in working in collaboration. So I think it's about developing your own skill as a theatre clown, but also your service, kind of an experience of service, I think, and your place in the kind of cog of a larger organization, I think, is really important. And then being an interested performer and having a diverse range of influences, I think, is really useful in clown doctoring, whether that's like you're an expert of one thing. So, we have people in our organization who I say are really skilled musicians. Or we might have people who've got backgrounds in dance or in mime, or very experienced actors, like in a more sort of traditional setting where they can tap into sort of emotional realism, which can be hilarious. So yeah, either have like kind of up your skills. I think being an interested performer that can go and learn different skills and have as many, like we would say, strings to your bow as you can is useful, because then you can be more spontaneous with how you work if you've got lots of different skills. So yeah.
Oh, I think that's a very interesting viewpoint that you have put forward. And what I can imagine is being a diverse country like India, you can actually find a lot of things when you dig out the culture and stories and characters, behavior patterns, and a lot of things that actually can be incorporated in the stories when you start working as either a stage clown or as a clown doctor. And I think that's a huge input that we have. But of course, yes, a standard and a very technical sound teaching need to be there to understand and start working on these things. Okay, Dan, that's a very interesting conversation. The area that you work is very, very different than what we know. And I think that will going to give some insight to a lot of people about what clown doctoring is and what happens, how you do. And I hope people will take some kind of motivation through the conversation that we are having and probably do something about it. But thank you very much thank you very much for joining today. And just a small request, stay safe.
Yeah. Yeah, you too. Please stay safe. And also, I suddenly thought I should do a shout out. If people are interested in Hearts and Minds, look at Hearts and Minds online for clown doctors in Scotland. We're making short videos at the moment, very short clips on YouTube. They have a YouTube channel. Of the clown doctors, because we're all isolated in our own individual cupboards at the moment, but we're still missing the children, and we're working on being able to get the technology together to be able to virtually visit some of the children in the hospital at the moment. So yeah, if you're interested in the organization whilst you're all hopefully staying safe in your homes, you can probably check out what we're making at the moment.
Of course, sure. So we'll also share the link in the description, so you can go and you can enjoy and understand kind of work that Diane is doing. But thank you very much for now, and we'll keep continuing this kind of dialogue and discussion even when there is no corona, because we want to do some kind of exchange of knowledge and ideas and learn from each other. And that is something an artist can do. So let's meet sometime again. And for now, take care, stay safe.
Thank you. You too.
Thank you.